We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show. This week's episode is sponsored by CityVest. CityVest has quickly become the most popular and best way for doctors to invest in top-performing real estate private equity funds that are usually reserved for institutional investors. This unique access to investing in these institutional funds is available for the first time ever through CityVest's easy and secure online investment platform. CityVest does the hard work of conducting due diligence and vetting the investments. They even get a third-party due diligence report that is posted on their website. As a result of aggregating a several million-dollar investment amount into their access funds, CityVest gains access to investing in the institutional investment and is able to negotiate better investment terms such as a 12% preferred return. You can check them out at cityvest.com or go to the link in the show notes below. So welcome everybody to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, I talk about 4 pillars of freedom: financial, time, location, emotional freedom. And my mission is to bring you the best guests, the best content, and the people that are doing things on the cutting edge to help you get started, grow and scale and amplify your efforts and your freedom. So in that light, I have Pamela Wilson, and she's really an expert in coaching people how to build profitable online businesses. So her particular expertise is in really people that are looking to make real money and real profits from their businesses. So it's going to be it's going to be a great conversation. And I'll let Pamela introduce herself. So Pamela, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here and to talk to this audience in particular, because the people I help are really experts and experts who have something that they could bring into the online space, and they don't have a lot of time and they don't want to waste the time they have pursuing things that won't actually make them money. So one of the things that I do is to help them figure out a way that they can take that expertise that they've worked so hard to acquire and turn it into something that they can sell online that generates really great revenue for them.
Yeah, I love that. And really, especially for physicians and high income earners, it's all about return on time, making sure that, you can scale your time and scale your efforts and, eventually replace your job or your income. So, what's really interesting is we have three main ideas. The first is how to use your expertise to make money online, and we can go from there. Get us started. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what not to do because I did this at first as well. When you come online, you see a lot of people saying, oh, you have to create like a low priced offer and then a medium priced offer and then a high priced offer. And then you move people through this process of buying all these products like in order. And in my experience, human beings don't behave that way. They have a problem they want to solve and they're looking for a solution. And if their problem is painful enough and challenging enough, they don't want to buy a $17 solution. They are willing to pay real money to actually get the problem solved. And so as a group of people who don't have a lot of spare time, and you are not unique in that, as physicians, you're joined by a lot of other professionals who have expertise who also don't feel like they want to waste time, right? And so what I recommend is that you take that expertise and invest a little extra effort to create a higher value offer. And in the online space, you hear a lot of people talking about high ticket offers, and I talk about them as high value offers because I think when we focus on high ticket, we're sort of focusing on what we're going to charge for it. Like we're focusing on our own bank accounts, right? And I think that it will have more impact if you focus on the value that you're going to deliver to the people that you're helping with this offer. So I recommend that you spend a little extra time creating a higher value offer that, yes, you can charge more for, and then you don't have to sell that many of them. And that's the other piece that in the online space is a big deal. In order to sell things online, you have to have an audience to sell them to, right? And as you know, only a certain percentage of people who actually see your offer will buy your offer, right? And so if you sell a less expensive offer, you have to develop a huge audience to put that offer in front of. If you have a higher value offer, you can sell 3, 4, 5 of them every month, and you're doing great. So that's the other reason to spend a little extra time and create a higher value offer.
Doc to Doc is a personal lending solution designed by doctors for doctors. We understand that doctors' financial situations change faster than an insulin drip in ketoacidosis. And we also understand that doctors are the most reliable borrowers in the world. Through our proprietary algorithm, we're able to provide personal loans at great rates with amazing flexibility because we take into account your schooling, your specialty, and where you are in the medical journey. Doctors come to us after they've matched into residency, and we loan for all sorts of personal reasons, from credit card debt consolidation to family expenses and medical bills. We speak with everyone who applies for a loan and offer fixed interest rates and flexible term options without prepayment penalties. If you're a physician looking for a personal loan, fill out our application form now. It only takes 3 minutes, and we'll get back to you with a decision within 24 hours.
Yeah, and so one thing is when you say, spend a little bit of time to create that extra value so you can charge a little bit more. What is your experience that you've seen with a common reason online offers fail?
I think the big reason they fail is that people haven't gone through a testing process to make sure that their offer is really going to work. And I see this a lot actually in audience members who have expertise. So the people listening and watching our chat here, I would say are in that audience, right? You have a lot of expertise and you want to create something that solves a common challenge. And because you have expertise, you have what's called the curse of knowledge. So it's almost like you know too much. And you can't really remember what it was like to be a beginner in your topic and to need everything, to be at the very early stages, right? And so what I see is experts create this offer that they're 100% sure is exactly what people need. And it turns out it's not what they need. And it's not what they want. And it's not positioned in a way that they recognize why it's important. Experts who are really extra smart tend to think that they can make an educated guess about what their customers want. But I recommend that you do market research first so you really know what people want and need. And I have a process that's very simple for doing that kind of market research where you just are figuring out how people are talking about their challenge. And then you're making sure that all of the elements that they're looking for are woven into your offer. And then you test it. You create a version of your offer that you can put in front of people and test, sell it for a price, but as on a test basis. And then you get feedback from those people. You see what was helpful, what they got confused by, what they need more of, what they don't need as much of. And then you adjust and adapt. So in the online space, I think one of the most important things that we can think about, and as physicians, it's a very different way of looking at the world, right? So I think as people who are anchored in science, there's like a right and a wrong answer to things, right? And in the online space, it's really more about iteration. It's about developing a solution and thinking of it as almost like a temporary solution. And then based on evidence, based on the data that you get and the feedback you get from your customers, you iterate and make it better. And if you can approach the offer process like that, like it is an iterative process that you are going to develop over time in conjunction with your customers, then you can create a really strong offer that's based on what they actually need rather than what you think they need or you suppose they need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love how you really talk about just the way you're more strategic in how you approach the client avatar and how you design content and way to actually monetize the whole customer experience. So
Yes.
um, what's interesting is that then you also talk about turning actually content creation into a revenue generator. What's the smartest way you've seen to do that?
Yeah, I think that content creation can lead to revenue, not necessarily in the way people think. So, for example, I've written a couple of books. I'll hold them up here. And I had a conversation just earlier today with someone who was saying, yeah, I wrote a book and I'm going to build my business around my book. The thing about writing books and creating content and putting it in a book form is books have a cost. You have to pay the editor, you have to pay for production, and books don't necessarily directly lead to revenue. What they do is they create authority and they build trust. The way you can actually monetize content like a book is you can create an offer that's based on the topic that you covered in your book that really allows you to work one-on-one with the people who buy your offer. So that's a simple example of content leading to revenue. But if you have a podcast like yours, or you have a blog and you're posting on the blog or a YouTube channel, then you can also monetize that content when it leads to an offer that actually makes money. Content in and of itself doesn't really make money. It's a way to lead people to something that makes money.
Yeah, I love that. And then you talk about also monetizing online content without sponsors or ads. Tell us the different ways. I know you can do sponsors, you can add the ad, you can affiliates, you can sell your own courses, products. Tell us more about monetizing online content without sponsors or ads.
Yeah. And the reason I'm kind of passionate about that is that when you have a sponsor or you're running ads, you end up sort of working for your sponsor, right? And when you can control your income stream by maybe you have ads for your own product or service, then you have just a lot more control over the content you create and how often you publish it and all of that. And I know freedom is important to the people listening and watching, and that is the ultimate freedom, I think, when you kind of control the income stream. I think that the best way to do that is to create that offer that you've developed yourself and promote that offer with your content. And that way you're not depending on getting sponsors or on how much they'll pay you or how often you mention them in your content. You're sort of not owned by someone else. You own your own business and you're creating your own revenue with your own solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite interesting how you're, with sponsors or ads, you're tied to, what they say or that. But if you're doing it, the income stream is based on your choice and your creation, you have that much more freedom.
Yeah, it's funny because I think people imagine that influencers have a lot of freedom, and I don't think they do. They have jobs where they're working for their sponsors, right? So I would rather see smart people devote a little extra time to developing something that they control completely.
Yeah. I'm gonna transition, towards the latter half of the talk more about your offer and positioning your offer. So the first thing is, how do you position your product or service as the only choice in the marketplace?
I think the way that you make it the only choice is that you make it really custom to you. You sort of infuse it with the best elements of you and what you bring to the table. And that really involves looking at your own personal values and your own personal skills. So let's look at this conversation. You obviously are very comfortable on video. We're having this conversation on video. That's a skill that you bring to the table, right? You also have personal values that I am sure you would want to see reflected in any offer that you create. So when you create an offer that is really about your personal values and you combine those values with your skills, then you have an offer that's really unique. What I see so often in the marketplace is people look to see what everybody else is doing, and then they create something that's kind of their version of somebody else's solution. And I don't think that's a good idea. The best way to make it really uniquely yours is to make sure that you are in every piece of the offer you create. So the people listening probably have interests and values and things that they're passionate about. You just need to make sure those things show up in your offer.
Yeah. And then once you position your product as, it's very unique, how do you ensure that the offer you develop will be a success? What are some of the attributes or things that go into that?
I do think that testing piece is really important. So making sure that you have thoroughly tested the offer and that you're continuing to listen to the people that you serve with that offer and improving it over time. That's a really important piece. And then you also have to get your marketing really dialed in. And that's figuring out, how am I going to get this offer out into the world? How am I going to build awareness about the offer? And as you know, there are so many options for doing that. There's so many different content platforms we can use. And so we just want to choose one and really get serious about it and kind of double down and become very present on that platform.
Yeah. What's really interesting is in your bio you said how to get paid to create your premium online offer. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So one of the things that I teach in the program that I run is I teach people how to create a test offer and invite a small group to come in and pay them to go through their offer. So maybe it's a coaching program, or it's a course, or it's a live workshop that you want to deliver to people and you want to help them. Whatever it is, you invite a group of people in to pay you, and then you work with them and you get their feedback and you incorporate that feedback. So I call it earning while you learn, right? Mm-hmm. You're earning because you've asked for money in exchange for this offer, which it's not really a test of an offer until you've asked for money. You can't bring people in for free and say, hey, test my offer, because if people won't pay for it, then that's part of your test data, right? So you kind of need to test that as well. But it's working in conjunction with those customers who are testing your offer and getting paid it's almost like a paid focus group, right?
Yeah. So it's reminds me of people vote with their wallets, and that's kind of that's like the strongest vote, and reminds me of just kind of like what I've heard, like beta testing, beta launches, which is really interesting. You get paid while you learn. So this is I've really enjoyed our conversation. It's been really great. Some of the in closing, what are some of the most important questions to ask yourself when building a high value offer?
I think the most important thing that you can do is to really go inside and ask yourself, what are the personal values that I want to see reflected in my offer? At this stage in life, when you're a professional and you've been doing it for a while, you've got values, you've got things that are important to you. And it's just important to pause, put on blinders, stop looking at what everybody else is doing on the internet, and really think about how you want yourself reflected in that offer. I think that's the most important thing you can do when you're starting out.
Yeah. What I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know a lot of the people in the audience are interested in following you, contacting you, visiting your website, and maybe even working with you. So how can they do that?
Oh, thank you. The best way to find me is at my website, PamelaWilson.com. Very easy. I bought my URL last year, so it's easy to find me now, PamelaWilson.com. And my program is called Offer Accelerator, and they can see that right on the homepage. They can get a link to go and find out more about it. I'd love to work with anybody listening or watching. you are the exact kind of person that I work with. People who have expertise, who are ready to transition to earning money in the online space. That's exactly the kind of person I love to work with. So if you're interested, check it out on the page and reach out. I'd love to work with you.
Yeah. And for all of the audience and listeners out there, Pamela's links and resources will be in the show notes. And so, Pamela, it's been a great conversation, really enlightening. Really, really kind of you distill it to the cream of the crop, as opposed to the majority you're working with the very best. So, thanks so much, and we look forward to hearing about your future success.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invite.
I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislumdphd.com for more support. I'll see you next week.